What if I told you that there is a build in a game where you just press one button, walk around, and everything around you just dies? And I'm not just talking about Torment 4, I'm talking about Pit 80 Plus. Don't believe me? Oh, check this out. As you can see, guys, Cataclysm is doing all the damage. I just pop it, and I walk next to the mobs, and they're dead. I'm not doing anything. I'm literally just walking by them, and Cataclysm is cleaning house. And this is Pit 80. So I'm not even pushing. I'm literally standing here. I activate Cataclysm, and they all die. Now watch how quickly the boss is going to die. Again, just Cataclysm, nothing else. Hello guys, my name is Fallen Messiah, and here I'm going to present you with my Cataclysm Druid. That's right. I spent the entire afternoon cooking up this build on the PTR, and now I'm going to show you what this build is made of and what it's capable of doing. So as you've seen earlier, I can basically clear Pit 80 just by basically walking around, and then everything around me just dies. And I even almost cleared Pit 100 as well. I will show you that run later on in the video. So we have a lot of ground to cover, so let's get straight to it. So first of all, why Cataclysm? Well, when I was looking at the patch notes for the PTR, I noticed a couple of things and improvements that made me wonder if this would actually be viable. So there are 3 things that have been improved, or should I say 4 things, 2 new aspects that really enable this build to be possible. First of all, we have the rework of the Mjolnir ring, if I spelled that right. So while Cataclysm is active, you gain unlimited spirit and deal up to double damage. However, what is new is that Cataclysm receives your lightning bolt benefits. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the video. Then we have 2 new aspects that are tailored to ultimate skills. Those 2 aspects are the Vehement. Casting an ultimate skill increases your damage by up to 60% on a 2-hander for 8 seconds, and it also gives us 4 additional skill ranks. And also we have of Apogeic Furor. So once we cast ultimate skill, we gain X multiplicative damage, and it stacks up to 10 times. At 10 stacks, cooldowns are reset, as is this bonus. What this means is that basically, the more we play, the more we keep spamming our Cataclysm, the better we get and the more damage we deal. So you will start dealing a moderate amount of damage, but over time, if you're pushing in the pit, you will end up dealing a great deal of damage. The only downside to that is that if you die, or if you fill up 10 stacks, you will get a noticeable drop in damage again. And also one other thing that has been changed as well is if we go to the skill tree, there has been a rework for Charged Atmosphere. Your lightning bolts deal 40% increased damage is new, and we have to max this out. So, without further ado, I will go through the skill tree first, and then I'm going to explain why I picked up certain skills over the others. So first of all, we have Storm Strike. We have Enhanced Storm Strike. We move straight into here. For core skills, we have several options. We don't actually use core skills. Cataclysm does all the job for us, but I'll talk about that a little bit later in the gameplay section of this video. But for pit pushing, we are going with Pulverize, Enhanced Pulverize, and Primal Pulverize for extra damage reduction. For passive, the only one, this is actually from our items, so we don't really care about either of these because we don't use core skills. We are going to put 3 into Predatory instead to get critical strike chance. We are going to put 2 into Digidegrade Gate to get a little bit extra movement speed. 1 into Earth and Bulwark Enhanced and Preserving for Fortify. We are going to be maxing these 2 for extra damage reduction. 1 into Blood Hobble, Enhanced Blood Hobble, and also Innate Blood Hobble. To be honest, you don't really need Spirit in this build, but this is mostly just an extra healing potion when you need it. Moving on, Nature's Reach, we are going to put 3 points into here, 20x damage to crowd control enemies and distant ones. We are going to put 3 points into Feral Aptitude. This is all just multiplicative damage. And then, because Cataclysm is a storm skill, we are going to pretty much put 3 points into all of these. With special shout out to Charged Atmosphere, Lightning Bolts dealing 40% increased damage means that our Cataclysm deals 40% extra damage, because Lightning Bolt bonuses are also represented for Cataclysm. Cataclysm gains those bonuses because of the Meonic Ring. Endless Tempest is very, very important. We increase the duration of Cataclysm. With extra points here, we basically have 100% uptime of Cataclysm. Not only that, but we get to spam it once every 20 seconds, give or take. 32 Bad Omen. This gives more lightning bolts. They by themselves don't actually deal all too much damage. If you don't have extra skill points, you can take a couple of Bad Omen here. However, it is not bad. And here, Elemental Exposure, Storm skills have 10% chance to make enemies vulnerable. We don't need this because our Cataclysm always makes them vulnerable anyway. Hurricane, just 1 point into here, Enhanced and Savage, for a little bit more damage reduction as well. Over here, we only care about Envenom. This is the biggest damage multiplier for every Druid build. We will talk a little bit later about what procs the Envenom here. Now, our Cataclysm has 3 tags: Storm, Nature, and Werewolf. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Because it is a nature skill, we are going to be putting 3 points into Defiance, 3 points into Resonance, and we don't need points here. 5 points into Cataclysm, Prime Cataclysm for more duration, and Supreme to make sure to have our enemies vulnerable. They are going to be vulnerable 100% of the time. Over here, I like putting 3 points into Defensive Posture, and you don't need any extra points here. The armor takes care of the rest. We are going to be putting 3 points into Quick Shift. It's a big damage multiplier, and I will talk in the gameplay section of the video how actually to get Quick Shift to be on 100% of the time. I put 1 point here. If you can spare it, it's not bad. This build basically gives you a lot of Fortify all the time, which is nice for extra damage reduction. And key passive is Perfect Storm. This is just straight up 60% damage multiplier. So storm skills that you cast grant 2 spirit and deal 60x increased damage when damaging a vulnerable enemy, and our enemies are always vulnerable. So this is just flat 60% multiplicative damage increase. Okay, now that we covered the skill section, let's talk a little bit about items, and then we'll talk about Paragon. So, here we have Tempest War. What Tempest War does is it puts Werewolf tag into our Storm skills. It allows us to tap into certain bonuses, into Shapeshifting, into Quick Shift, so this is very important. This is best in slot. I tried different things. I tried Shaco, but you don't really need Shaco. You don't need that much cooldown reduction. We already have plenty with other items. We will get to it. So here, the actual percentage doesn't really matter. We only care about this. Your base Storm skills are now Werewolf skills. This is the only thing that we really care about. You want to get Willpower, greater affix, it's possible, and you also want to Masterwork Willpower if possible. I should probably do it. I didn't have enough mats at the moment, but I will get more. Here, Shroud of False Death. You want to prioritize all stats first and max life second. I just did not get GA max life. Everything else is not needed. This is best in slot, just a huge multiplier for all passives, gives us tons of survivability, tons of damage. Just something you need to have on. Then on gloves, so we are going with the Rune Workers aspect. Critical strikes with storm skills cause lightning bolts to periodically strike. For X damage, that's not relevant. What is relevant is the other part of the aspect. Your lightning bolt damage is increased by 35% multiplicative for every 100 willpower you have. So in this build, because of this aspect, we are stacking willpower. You can see that I have almost 5,000 willpower. More willpower equals more lightning bolt damage. More lightning bolt damage equals more cataclysm damage. So currently I have over 1,175% multiplicative bonus. This directly impacts Cataclysm for huge damage. For item, you want to get willpower, crit strike chance, and third one is optional. Third stat, I went for armor to cover my deficiency to get as close to the cap as possible. With all the boosts and incenses, I do have everything capped out. So one note here. The most important stats on this build is willpower, crit strike chance, and crit strike damage. You don't actually need attack speed so for this build, so you can put armor instead of attack speed. It's not a problem whatsoever. You can put life instead of armor too. For tempers, we are going with the hurricane size, and we are going for the ultimate damage. I will talk a little bit more about the gameplay section, why we have hurricane on. For the pants, if you have armor cap, put Juggernaut in. If you do have armor cap or are close to it, then you should put Concussive Strikes. This is just another 25x multiplier. We have tons of lucky hit in this build. Because we also have here, our Cataclysm has a pretty high lucky hit chance, has 77% lucky hit chance. So you're going to get this proccing all the time. This is just another multiplier. However, again, if you're struggling with your armor, put Juggernaut aspect in. You want to have willpower, max life, and then either armor or resistances that you're lacking. So this is where you patch up missing resistances or armor. For tempers, you need total armor, and the other one is not really that important. I went for barrier generation just to get more barrier for my Earth and Bulwark, but I mean, you can do that or something else, whatever you want. Total armor is my recommendation for the first one. For boots, willpower, move speed, and then again, the third slot is where you want to put either a resist or an armor to make sure you're capped on both. You're going to have a lot of lightning resistance on this build, so my suggestion is use this slot to get a different kind of resistance, and then for jewelry you will put other missing resistances into these sockets. Now for the weapon itself, we are going with a two-handed mace. It's very important that we get two-handed. We do not care about attack speed, we only care about raw damage. So, couple of points here. You want willpower, GA if possible, max life, crit strike damage, and then tempers are incredibly important. Number one, first and foremost, chance for Cataclysm to deal double damage. So just flat out chance to deal double damage. This is probably the biggest multiplier in this build. You need this temper. And you can also, if you're lucky, get this up to 100%. So look at this range. 97.5% is like something that I could have rolled just with a double crit that I got. So I was actually quite unlucky. If I crit this one more time, I will get probably around 90%. So if you get a good roll, you can get up to 100% for double damage, which is great. Second temper, I went for Storm Critical Strike Chance. Right now, if I go for my crit strike chance, you have here 74. But I actually have almost 100% because this is another 11. We are using the Vehement aspect. Casting the ultimate skill increases our damage by 60% for 8 seconds, right? This is just a huge multiplier, and it also gives us 4 ranks for our ultimate skill at all times. Now, we are not going to be having this on all the time, but it's still great, it's the best in slot here. For our amulet, willpower percentage, GA if possible. You want to masterwork this one 3 times if you can. Then crit strike chance and cooldown reduction. If you want and you have enough crit strike chance, you can replace crit strike chance with envenom or quick shift or other multiplicative passives. But this is a pretty decent amulet, a good example of what you should strive and aim for. Then we are going to have Cataclysm cooldown reduction. If you don't masterwork willpower, you should be masterworking this instead. And ultimate damage. And then a new aspect, Epigeic Furor, says that every time we cast ultimate skill, we gain 27% multiplicative damage and it stacks up to 10 times. This is very important. The more we play into the pit, the more damage we deal. And you will notice after a couple of stacks, you just melt mobs with this. We're using this item. I'm not going to even try to pronounce it. What this item does is a couple of things for us. First of all, every time we cast Cataclysm, it's going to pull all the mobs towards us and deal huge amounts of damage. And then after 5 seconds, it's going to do it again. It's great for crowd control, and other than that, it also has some very nice affixes that's great for our build. So all the things that we really want, we want 15% willpower, lucky hit chance, all of that is great. Damage to close enemies is great, is because it's going to max out one of our Paragon nodes. We'll talk about that after this. And ultimate cooldown reduction. If you can, you should strive to triple crit ultimate cooldown reduction like I have. This is just going to allow us to spam Cataclysm all the time. So to be honest, this damage that it does is significant because look at this. It has bonus per point of willpower, which is yet another reason why we're stacking it. It's 47,000 multiplicative percentage damage, so it's not insignificant. When it pulls, it does a moderate amount of damage, even in higher pit tiers. Although we are really using this mostly for its beneficial cooldown reduction properties, etc. And finally, this is what makes the whole thing work. You want to make sure you get Mjolnir Ring as close to 100% as possible. Also, one very important thing, if you can get +2 to Endless Tempest, that is great because it's going to mean you will get +3 when you masterwork it, and that increases your duration for Cataclysm. Unfortunately, I don't have that, but everything else on this item is top-notch. Willpower, crit strike chance, move speed while Cataclysm is active, and it's active all the time, and Endless Tempest. So I have 97%, you want to make sure it's as close to 100 as you can get it. And on these we also have gems to cover our missing resistances. Now let's get to the boons. So for this, we're going to take 15 reduced damage from elites. It's going to keep us alive in higher pit tiers. If you don't struggle with resistances, speed farming version, also you can put this one for more movement speed instead. Here we are getting that increased crit strike chance and lucky hit chance. This is very important. And Avian Wrath for just 40% multiplicative crit strike damage. You really cannot replace this with anything. It's just too good. Here we are going to have the extended duration of ultimate skills by 35%. This is going to hugely benefit our Cataclysm. So if I put Cataclysm here, it lasts for 26 seconds, which is great. And you'll notice the cooldown is 21 seconds. But actually this cooldown is even lower than what's showing you in-game, and I'll talk a little bit later why. Finally, for the last boon, we have Overload. Dealing storm damage applies poison damage. This is very important. What this means is that we're going to proc Envenom just by dealing lightning damage, and we're doing lightning damage all the time. So with this rework, we don't have to rely on gimmicks like that Paragon node where you entangle things, or We don't have to rely on our creeper. We just deal damage and they're automatically poisoned, and it taps into 2 multipliers. One of them is Paragon node, and we're gonna talk about Paragon right now. So first of all, I want you to understand this is by no means optimized. I will continue to work on this build. However, you should strive to get this as close as you can to what I did. I will try to briefly explain the logic behind things and why I did them the way I did. So, first of all, we are starting out with the node Electrocution. Why Electrocution? Well, for every 5 willpower, it increases our lightning bolt damage. We already discussed this. Lightning bolt damage equals Cataclysm damage. So we are getting here a very huge damage. Even though it's additive, it's still 1306% additive damage to our Cataclysm. On top of that, it also has 2 multiplicative bonuses for lightning damage, which Cataclysm is. In this beginner node, you actually want to grab every single willpower within range. So make sure you level your glyph to 45 to get the best range possible and grab every single willpower that's going to increase your damage. Of course, providing you actually have enough Paragon points to do so. If not, that is okay, but every extra point should be towards this first. Our second node is going to be Thunderstruck. Now remember what we talked about. Storm skills deal increased damage equal to 20% of your damage versus close and damage versus distant. And you want to make sure this is 60% at all times. This is just straight up 60% multiplicative damage, so you want to make sure you pick this up as soon as possible. And also, a lot of these nodes actually help with proccing this. So for example, we have damage to distant enemies here, here, you know, and here as well. So you want to make sure you grab as much as you can. And also, as we talked about earlier with this item, we also get 263% damage to close enemies. My is GA. You don't need actually a greater affix here. You will still max this out without it as well. So after Thunderstruck, in this node, we are also going to be putting Earth and Sky. Earth and Sky is just straight up damage multiplication for nature skills, which Cataclysm is. It has 2 multipliers, and also it gives you a nice bonus for all of your magic nodes here, which is storm damage, etc. So very nice. You also have 51% damage to close enemies. It further helps to proc Thunderstruck as well. So you will put Earth and Sky here. Third node is going to be Ancestral Guidance. After spending 75 spirit, you deal 40% increased damage. That's a huge multiplier. We will have this on all the time. I will elaborate more in the gameplay section of this guide. Now, there is this bug with this Ancestral Guidance. It says your ultimate skills deal 0% increased damage. I don't understand that. I think it's a bug. This has been reworked, and this should also be able to give us more damage for our Cataclysm. Currently, it doesn't seem to do that. But assuming it's gonna get fixed, we're going to benefit even more from this node. So definitely pick this one next. And once this video is out, I will also be putting out a guide as for Paragon and everything else, so you can check that out as well. I'm not going to go into every single node, but if you want, you can prioritize resistances, life, etc. Grab anything that seems good for you. My main concern is that you understand why we picked these legendary nodes and glyphs so you can replicate that. Here, we're going to be having Spirit. Spirit gives us huge amounts of crit strike damage. You want to make sure you put as much dexterity here as you can in these nodes, because every 5 points is more crit strike damage. So your first priority is to grab all of the legendary nodes and glyphs. If you have any extra points in Paragon, you put here willpower first, and then you put here dexterity second. For our Paragon board number 4, we have Heightened Malice. So as we talked earlier, when we cast lightning when we cast storm skills, we poison enemies automatically, which means we proc Envenom, we proc this too. So every time a poison enemy is nearby, and it's always going to be nearby, we deal 35x multiplicative damage plus 5 for every additional poison enemy. This is very big, so we're going for that as well. For the glyph, we are going with Fulminate. This is just more lightning damage for our build. Feel free to grab all the nodes along the way, such as, for example, this. More life here, so if you can spare it, grab the life nodes along the way. And final Paragon board is going to be Lust for Carnage. Critical strikes with werewolf skills restore 2 spirit and deal 50% increased damage. This is yet another multiplier. Now remember, with our Tempest Roar, our Cataclysm has 3 tags, has Nature, Storm, and Werewolf. So we are going to be having this on pretty much all the time because we are stacking critical strike chance. So every time we crit, we get this huge multiplier. And there you go, guys. We explained skills, items, boons, and Paragon. And now I'm just going to pop into the game and quickly explain how you play it and the rotation behind it. So here we are, guys, in Pit 80. So I just want to quickly explain a couple of things. So first of all, do you remember what our cooldown was for Cataclysm? Now it's even lower. Why? We have here Vehement, which gives us 4 additional ultimate skill ranks, but that doesn't proc in town. However, it does proc everywhere else. This is more cooldown reduction. Now, the rotation is this. First, you start by putting in Hurricane. With Hurricane on, look at this. 17-second cooldown. 17 second. Look at this. I press Cataclysm, the mobs are pulled, and they just die. And I'm not doing anything. I'm just literally standing here. And it's so cool. It's such a huge AoE as well. So what happens? Because we have this, while Hurricane is active, gain 5 ranks to your shapeshifting skills, and Tempest Roar makes our Cataclysm a shapeshifting skill. So with our Hurricane and with Vehement, we gain +9 to Cataclysm, which means we get to spam it pretty much all the time, every 17 seconds. So rotation is as follows. You walk in, Hurricane, Cataclysm, and if you're speed farming, that's really pretty much it. You walk around and things die. Isn't that great? It's so fun. I love it. Now, if you're pit pushing, there are a couple things you need to know. First of all, we have here Polarize. The reason why we need Polarize is because we need to proc our Paragon node. We need to spend 75 spirit, so we need a spirit spender. This is 39 spirit, so when I use Polarize twice, I get this bonus. Storm Strike allows me to gain 15% damage reduction for 3 seconds. So the rotation is as follows. If you're in a top pack, Hurricane first, Cataclysm second, you hit once with your Lightning Strike, Storm Strike, you hit twice with Polarize, and then repeat. You activate the bonus with Polarize, Storm Strike, Polarize 2 times. So as you can see, you don't really need too much attack speed. You have this bonus for 3 seconds on Storm Strike, and you have this bonus for a couple of seconds as well. So you don't actually need a lot of attack speed for this build. Now this is probably not the best bit level to show you this because things just die. But basically, Storm Strike, Polarize, Polarize. Storm Strike, Polarize, Polarize. Okay, I just died because I wasn't paying attention. And every time you're in a bind, you have Earthen Bulwark, you get Fortify, you get Barrier, and here as well if you need it to heal yourself. So why Polarize? If you're pushing, you need a Spirit Spender, and you also need something that's going to turn you into a different form so you can keep your Quick Shift on. So every time you cast Polarize, you're a bear. Every time you cast Storm Strike, you're a werewolf. So when alternating, you gain Quick Shift. If you are, however, not pushing, you can replace Polarize with For example, Shred to teleport to your opponent, or you can use Trample instead. And there you have it, guys. That's the build. So, Cataclysm. I'm so in love with this build. I spent the entire evening cooking it, and I'm really satisfied with the results. So I can do easy 80 speed farming, and I almost cleared level 100, which I'm going to show you right here. Unfortunately, I was a little bit unlucky, but by the time you're watching this, I will have already cleared it. Now remember, this is without followers and without any seasonal bonuses, so I expect this build to push to probably 110 when optimized, maybe even more. And honestly, for a build where you just press one button and it does all the damage for you, not too shabby. Not too shabby at all. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this. My name is Fallen Messiah. It's been a pleasure. I will have a planner down below the video, probably a couple hours after it goes online. So if you have any other questions, feel free to holler at me, send it in the comments. And if this helped you and you would like to see more in the future, please consider subscribing. It really helps me a lot. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Fallen Messiah, and I hope you have a good one.